Hey friends, thanks for joining us for another drink. Why are you wearing that ridiculous hat?
You mean the sweetest hat ever? It's in spirit of our spirit. Why
Oh
are
really?
you wearing a fuzzy shirt?
Well, I'm channeling John Denver. A little Rocky Mountain High.
More like a big bear.
Maybe. Rawr.
So what do we have today?
Well, we are bringing spirits back this week to Colorado. Denver, Colorado.
Made in the USA.
Made in the USA, that's right. So we are going to talk about Stranahans. And in particular, this one is Stranahan's Diamond Peak, Colorado whiskey. Now, Stranahans started in 2004, and they were actually the first legal distillery in Colorado. You don't think 2004 was very long ago, especially when you're thinking about Prohibition. Much longer before then.
Right.
So it's interesting the gap.
Well, in that gap, they focused on beer. Think about, Eastbound and Down, a little Coors.
True. Well, let's not focus on Coors, the silver bullet, this time.
The alcohol from Colorado has only vastly improved
Absolutely.
since the onset
Yes.
of craft distilling.
Yes. And Stranahan's really kind of set we'll say, a trail, or they blazed a trail on what was to come, because now they are a part of 61 other distilleries in Colorado that make up the Colorado Spirit Trail. So pretty cool. I wish they were a little bit closer, because 61, that is a high number in one state.
Maybe one day.
One day. That would be awesome. Now, spirits are synonymous with sitting around friends and sipping on drinks, telling stories, just really having a good time and enjoying life. And the birth of this really is kind of tagged as born from fire and friendship. Now, it came from that because Jess Graber, he was a volunteer firefighter there in Denver, and he was responding to a barn fire. Now, that barn belonged to George Stranahan. George was a brewery owner, shared the love of Colorado outdoors with Jess, as well as their passion for whiskey. That really kind of struck the match, so to speak, on how they came together as business partners and built Stranahan's now to where it's the American single malt whiskey.
And the neat thing about Stranahan's and being in Colorado is it's not just mountains. There's actually a nice flat portion of the state of Colorado where they can grow grapes. So George and Jess designed their distillery to use the best of what Colorado had to offer. That great outdoors. The American single malt whiskey from Stranahan's is made from 100% malted barley and Colorado spring water. So as much of everything they can get is from Colorado, including the barley. It's aged in American oak barrels for a minimum of 2 years. Hey, that kind of sounds like scotch.
It does.
Not bad. But what sets Diamond Peak apart is that it's Solera finished.
Which we haven't talked about, but is damn cool.
It really is. So Diamond Peak, from a bottling perspective, is going to be a minimum of 4-year-old whiskey. And that means with the Solera finishing, no two batches are going to be the same. So this is batch 24, is going to taste a little bit different than the current batch of 30-something that's out there on the markets today. So Solera is originated in Portugal. So it's really Spanish for on the ground. And when you think about how you have the whiskey houses and you have just stacks and stacks of whiskey barrels,
Mm-hmm.
when you bottle something from a Solera, it's on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And you never empty the barrel. You only take a portion of the barrels from the bottom row and refill that empty space with the row above it, refill that empty space with the row above it, until you have young whiskey on top and old whiskey on the bottom. And over time, the age and flavor profile of that spirit just really ages. So Solera finishing's not isolated to whiskey, having its roots buried into Portugal and Spain. It's really more what they used for port wines, but you can use it for any spirit that you age.
Sure.
You can use it for rums or whiskeys or wines,
Mm-hmm.
scotches. It's really cool. It takes a lot of initial investment, but the results speak for itself. So with this being Solera finished, it's a little more than your regular bottle of, say, Caribbean.
Right. Right. Just a little bit higher.
A little bit. It's not off the charts like some really aged scotches, but this bottle of Diamond Peak will run about $60 to $70. So it's just a little bit more than what our typical pour is going to be. But there's an update from Stranahans. According to the website, last year in 2020, really just a few months ago, they have released a new label called Blue Peak. And that new label is rumored to be about $45.
So right in our budget-friendly price point that we typically stick around.
Correct.
Good.
And Blue Peak is also going to be Solera finished.
I can't wait to try that.
Yes.
That's going to be a good comparison between the two.
Well, do you want to try this one?
Absolutely. I've been waiting you to tell me.
Let's get a pour. Not that sound.
I pour heavy.
You really do. All that working on the cars must really just put you into muscle fatigue.
Heavy foot, heavy hand.
Cheers.
Cheers. Smells sweet.
Like an alpine meadow almost.
That's nice. We talked about some of the flavor profiles on what it would actually be, and you brought up maybe caramel, which, yes, I can definitely taste some of that in there. It's not sweet like the Caribbean Reserve, and there is a little bit more of a burn on the back end. What I say burn, but it's really not that much at all. This is probably one that I'd love to have a whiskey ball in.
This is extremely smooth.
Yes.
An American take on a Scotch style. And really, when I'm drinking other Scotches that actually come from Scotland versus Stranahans, they're, with the price points that I'm looking at, it's on par. This is just as good as Glenfiddich.
Okay.
And you know the neat thing that comes from an American whiskey, especially Stranahans. So you remember how Jess Graber was a volunteer firefighter?
Yep.
They brought that volunteer spirit into the distillery.
How so?
Well, every single bottle of Stranahans is hand bottled. They have volunteers that sign up constantly to be one of the ones chosen to go in and bottle the whiskey.
We've seen that before in a couple of the distilleries that we actually toured, which was really cool.
We still need to sign up for some of those. Because I think signing
Yeah.
up to bottle at Stranahan's would be a little bit of a travel expense for us.
True. Do they give any type of notice?
They do give you some notice, but it's not a whole lot. And you're just expected to drop everything and show up on your day, your set day for bottling.
Have they said anything in regards to how many people actually do this?
The current list is over 21,000 people strong,
Are you serious?
according to their website.
Wow.
And that's how you sign up, by the way. If you are in Colorado, local to Denver, go on over to the Stranahan's website. Sign up. Maybe you'll be one of the ones magically chosen to bottle Snowflake.
And not the snowflake you're thinking about. It's become such a very popular term these days.
Well, in Stranahan's case, it applies. It's their annual release, and you can only buy it at the distillery one day a year.
Yeah, it's still different. But that's got to be very, very unique and cool experience that this is the holy grail for the year that you're bottling up.
I mean, honestly, I would be willing to go bottle Stranahan's even if I'm just getting a bottle of Blue Peak.
True. So what are your thoughts? Have you had Stranahan's, any of their variations? Has this really kind of made you more inclined to go out and try some? We've talked to some friends who've watched some of the videos so far that really haven't been too much into Scotch, but after watching our episode, really been interested in going out and pick one up. So drop us a comment. If you've had this, what were your thoughts? If you had this compared to the original or the classic, and then or the Blue Peak, what did you think about it? We'd love to be able to read your comments.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you all. Have a great night.